Okay, so to begin with, I have my Flamers primed up with Corax white, and all of them are sprayed that way, and they're set on the base using double-sided tape. Now I have tried the sticky tack, but I do like the double-sided tape a little better. It seems to hold them on the base, gives it a much more solid hold when I can get the tape to separate and apply evenly. I start out by covering the model completely with Drakenhof Nightshade, and this is a nice blue shade from Citadel, and it's a watery paint, so it goes on rather easy, but you just want to slather this on everything. Just paint over everything, get it all on, and you don't have to worry about being neat. It's going to go all over the body and everything else. Now the extremities are going to get a different color, but I still like to have this shade underneath that, and that sort of blends it in, helps blend it in, and darken up the next color that we'll put on top of it. But if you get any bits that are just too much in one spot, once you start applying everything and your brush gets pretty dry, just go back and touch onto those spots that seem to have a heavy amount of the shade in the recesses, and it will soak that back up into the brush. And just continue to get just a nice even, you don't want a light coat, but you do want an even, fairly good coat that doesn't have a lot of buildup on it. You don't want really a lot of puddles in the recessed areas, and on these particular creatures there are a lot of recesses. So next I'm going to apply Magos purple, and this is a contrast paint, and this paint is only going to go down at the extremities, so at the very bottom of the flamer, onto his hands or his flamer hands, whatever they may be called, and also onto his face. So anything that's an extremity, so if he had 3 arms like this guy, I'm gonna definitely paint all 3 of them with this. Now this contrast paint is again a very transparent paint, and so you'll be able to see through it, so what helps it blend quite a bit into the Drakenhof Nightshade, and it gives it that purplish color coming out towards the end there, just a little bit. We'll of course enhance that in the next few steps. Here is a quick little comparison side by side of what it started with and with the contrast paint on it. Next up is the Citadel base Phoenician purple, and I'm going to do a heavy dry brush of this onto all of the extremities. So the parts that I just had the purple contrast paint will now get a dry brush of this base. So again, this heavy dry brush is going to give us a nice purplish cast to all of the extremities, and this is going to be applied to all the flaming arms, the face again, and the bottom face mouth apparatus, whatever that thing is at the very bottom of the flamers. Now I'm going to use Thousand Suns blue base, a Citadel base, and this is also going to get a fairly moderate dry brush to all of the mid sections. So anything that wasn't dry brushed purple now gets this Thousand Suns blue, and so these are our 2 base colors for our flamers. So it goes from the center part blue out to the extremities, which is going to be a purple, and of course our shades are already in there to give that nice dark either purplish or bluish shade in the recesses. Now on to our lighter dry brushing, which is going to be Genestealer purple, and this is a layer paint, so it's a little thinner paint, and your brush is going to be a little bit drier, so you want to dry it off a little bit more on the towel, and then all you really want to do is apply this to the higher areas of the flamer. So probably about half as much time to paint this as it did before with the other purple, the base coat purple, and all you're doing is just hitting along all of the highlighted areas, so it's a little lighter dry brush than before, and that's how we'll continue to do that, where we have a lighter dry brush on top of this also. So first we're going to do up all the purple, and now we're going to go ahead and use Ahriman blue. It's a layer Citadel layer paint, and we're going to dry brush the blue areas in the same manner that we did the purple areas just before. And it's a lighter dry brush, hitting all the highlights and really bringing out the features, the muscular features of the body. Next is the Dechala Lilac, which is the Citadel layer, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. But this is a little lighter purple, and again, this one is going to be a very, very dry brush. We're going to clean off almost all the paint, and we're going to go rather quickly over all the extremities. And again, this is just going to hit the very highest parts of our piece, and this is going to give us some nice little purple highlights, some light purple highlights around our flamer and all of its extremities. Next, we're going to use Blue Horror Citadel layer paint, and again, this is a much lighter blue. This is going to go towards the midsection of the body. Very dry brush, hardly any blue on it, and just a light hit on all of the highlights or higher areas of the midsection of our flamer. Here's a nice little side-by-side comparison of two flamers that are done, and you notice that there's a little bit difference between both of them, and that's fine. You're going to paint each one a little tiny bit different. They're not going to look exactly the same, which is what you want. And as we go into a close-up view of it, we can see how we have these nice highlights and deep shadow recesses in here. Pretty much the dry brushing did all the work for us on creating highlights, and the contrast paints for our shadows. Now I'm going to add the Corax white base color to all of the parts that are going to be flames. So I definitely want to be putting flames on this. And on these flamers, I'm telling you right now, there are a lot of parts that have flames. So you're going to use a lot of this white all over. So do thin down the Corax white. I have that probably 1:1 with water so that it flows into all the recesses and areas of the flames and gets a nice base coat. Now if you have it thinned down too much, you may have to apply it twice. In my case, I think I only had to do it once in a couple spots twice where it was thinned down a little bit too much. But you definitely want to thin when you're applying it. You do not want to apply this thick because it's going to hide all of the details in the flames. So here it is, a close-up view of one of the flamers with all the white detail painted in. And you can see it's quite a bit, but this will look really nice after our next step. Okay, so we're going to produce a flame that looks like this. And the way that I go about it is I use contrast paints. I use Flesh Tearing Red, and I use Hyandane Yellow. So, get a brush here. Now I like to use two different brushes. I got a bigger brush for the yellow one, and I got a smaller brush for the red one, because I like to apply them while they're wet, and that seems to give the best effect, I think. So, first thing I'm going to do. Now, the nice thing about this yellow is that if you apply it rather liberal, the darker or the recessed areas is going to be a little bit darker, and so that's going to give you your orange for the flame. And the higher areas, the ones that the paint has a chance to thin out on, is going to give you the yellows for your flame. Now if you get this a little over, that's okay, because it sort of looks like the glow of the flame, and that's not going to hurt anything. So like I said, while that's wet, I choose a different smaller brush, and then the tips I will get with this Flesh Tearing Red. That way it will dry and blend that together quite well. Now I do clean off the red brush every time because I don't want to keep getting orange on it, or yellow I should say. So this is how the flames look once they're finished, and you see that they blend together quite well, and it's a rather quick and easy method to creating some flames. Now we could call the flamer done at this point, but we will add just a little bit more. And we start that off by using Doombull brown, and it's a Citadel layer, and we're going to paint all of the teeth on this flamer. Now some of the flamers with 3 or 4 heads, and they have teeth all over the place. They have teeth at the bottom, at the base. They also have teeth all along the body there, where a lot of places where the flames come out there's some teeth. So you want to paint all of those teeth, a decent layer of this brown, and again thin it down so that it's not thick, so that it flows into all the recesses, because this is going to be our shade color. Next we're going to apply Morghast bone, and this is a base Citadel base color, and we're going to apply this to the teeth, but we're not going to go into all the recesses. We're going to leave that brown in there to create this sort of gruesome looking teeth. So just the upper areas and most of the teeth except for the recesses. And again, you're dealing with a very, very small surface here, so use the finest brush you have and just take your time. Our final color is Citadel layer Screaming Skull, and this is a little bit brighter white, and again this is going to be on the higher part of the teeth, so you want to let both those other colors show through a little bit, and just use this as sort of a highlighted color onto the teeth. And this makes for some kind of grody looking teeth, but it works on these flamers. Our flamer now is looking really nice, and we are pretty much done with it. So now it's time to peel the flamers off of the double-sided tape, and we're going to glue them directly onto our lava base. Now if you want to check out how these bases are made, just check out my lava base tutorial. If it's not up right away, it will be up soon, but all of my Demons of Tzeentch have a lava base to them that I use. And for this I'm just going to use thick CA glue and a little bit of accelerator. Hold it down for about 10 seconds. And here is our final product, our Flamers of Tzeentch. And if you like these tutorials, please do click a like and a subscribe, and hopefully you'll be around for my next video, which will be coming out soon. And be sure to check out the video on how to create those cool looking lava bases. Thanks for watching.